Perhaps the most profound question in human existence is what is the purpose or meaning of life? Many philosophers through the millennia have been providing their answers to this question, and yet it always seems that everybody has a different answer for it. My take on it is that while a meaningful life, in whatever way, sort of form it is for an individual, the ultimate goal and the greatest satisfaction one can have in life is when serving a purpose greater than themselves. It's clear that personal goals, whether that is good health, success, money, status, happiness, which I have a bit of a point of contention when it comes to happiness, because happiness is a feeling, and a feeling is based on hormones and a situation that comes and goes. So people who say that the meaning of life and the purpose of life is happiness, um, I find that to a degree extremely selfish and narcissistic based upon the definition that I just said. If you are a mother, the purpose and the meaning of your life, and clearly the number one, I would say, priority in your life is your children. So everything else takes a second or third place. And having kids is really the biological imperative of any woman. So it is equally selfish for the mother to prioritize her children above everything else. But it's at the same time, it is serving a greater purpose, which is lineage and continuation of our species. Similarly, for a man, the purpose could be anything from building a house, well, I'm thinking historically, building a house where it can be safe and it can be warm, and providing for your family and your loved ones. That purpose could be anything else as well. For example, if you live in an area where you see there's something clearly wrong that should be fixed, then you take it upon yourself to pursue a goal that's beyond yourself that would serve a greater good. Whether that is, fixing a hospital to provide better healthcare for people, whether it is a corrupt police force, whether it is politics, whether it is setting up a business and employing people and giving back to the community, whether it's even a revolution in a country that is mired in despotism and dictatorship. I find it that serving a purpose greater than yourself is certainly on top of the answers when it comes to what's the meaning of life. Now then we come to the second point of, does that mean that you should live your life selflessly? Um, and the answer is, to a degree, no. Is treat others as you would like to be treated. Now, what comes to mind is the example of, let's say, a doctor that is working in a developing country, in an area where there's famine and poverty. And the doctor is there to help others. Now, if the doctor would want to help the maximum amount of people, the doctor needs to have good nutrition, he needs to rest, sleep properly, and he needs to take care of his own physical and psychological health. So it is more efficient for him to, let's say, work 8 hours, perhaps 9 or 10 hours a day, then take time off, eat well, exercise, sleep, than saying, oh, well, the portion of food that I'm given, I should give that away to somebody who is hungrier than I am. Or instead of working 8, 9, or 10 hours a day, I should do 12, 13, 14 hours a day so I could help more people. Now, in the short term, that might make sense, but in the long term, if he overworks himself or gives out his part of let's say, food or rest, he's essentially, in the longer term, reducing his capacity to help people, which is the primary purpose of his presence in that said area. So there is a level of selfishness that has to be embedded into the way we approach even helping others or serving a greater good. And it is a line drawn in the sand of where does that selfishness end and the selflessness start. And well, I think to a degree it is subjective. However, the maximum impact that you can give to others is also a reflection of the level of respect that you have for yourself. In the case of a doctor, if the doctor is portraying himself or herself as somebody, let's say, for example, who's not well groomed, who's overweight, who uses crass language, yeah, that's probably something you should work on before helping others. The more your appearance and your demeanor shows that you have respect for yourself and you're well put together, the better of an impact is generally going to have on other people. So if your life is a mess and you clearly need to work on yourself, it might be a good idea to do that before going on to others and trying to help them. Now, the caveat here is that if somebody is in a bad place in their life and they've gone through a lot, it is also possible that helping others while you're in the gutter yourself, so to put it, or you're in a difficult position, helping others could be a sort of a therapy that in and of itself is going to allow you to see that other people might be in bigger trouble than you or equally deep in trouble, and that helps you to get a sense of like, okay, I'm not the only one struggling. And then through that quasi therapy, it's going to help you get on your feet. And for others, it could be that they really need to just focus on themselves and get their lives together. And once that comes to fruition, then they're in a place to actually start giving back. And while there are individual differences here, it seems to me that the differences between genders are quite pronounced. Because for women, it tends to be that when they're in trouble, they need to talk about it a lot more. And talking about it and expressing their emotions and feelings, that is a primary route for them in order to get out of the rut, to put it that way. Um, as well as if you want to call it a healing process, women need to feel loved and accepted. And then that's going to kind of open up the well of healing. For men, a lot of times, um, it is a more solitary process. Certainly, having a trusted person, preferably another man, is helpful. And I say man because men have a very different experience in life than women do. So if a woman needs help, it's probably better that it's another woman to help. Only when it would be that a woman is in trouble with relationships towards men, then a man might be the best source of help for her. But if it's some other non intergender relations related issue, then a representative of the same sex is probably the best help. And therefore, for men, we tend to struggle alone. And when we sort our business out, then we come out of the shell. And there's a lot of um, misunderstanding nowadays when it comes to the psychology of it, because the female approach to life has been dominating, let's say, the psychological field. So when for women, the first and foremost way to sort their issues is through talking and feeling loved and accepted, then that's taken primary um, priority over the male experience, which is different. For a man to sort out his problems, if we're trying to force him to talk about his feelings and emotions, that's not necessarily solving the problem, because men and women are wired differently on a biological and a psychological sense. So what works for the goose doesn't necessarily work for the gander. And that's why I think there's a discrepancy between the understanding for women, because if a man is in trouble, the woman's initial response is, well, talk about your feelings and then sort it out. Great, but that's a guy that you're talking to. The same way a man who sees a woman in trouble says like, well, just get a grip and sort it out and keep going. And the woman is like, what the hell are you talking about? And she needs to just get it out of her system through talking, expressing her emotions. So that's my 2 cents on this topic. Went on a slight bit of a tangent, but hey, it is what it is. Peace out.